When Kaylee accepted Josh's invitation, she was unknowingly boarding not just a plane, but a new chapter of her life. What awaited her in Canada wasn't just safety, it was the beginning of healing, truth, and a destiny far greater than she had ever imagined. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for always coming back to watch my videos. I do not take it for granted. Before we dive into part 2, please take the time to subscribe if you haven't done so. 2 days later, Kayla stepped into a world she'd only seen in movies. Josh's private jet gleamed under the tarmac lights, its interior more luxurious than any hotel she'd ever stayed in. Buttery leather seats, polished wood accents, and quiet service from a flight attendant who treated her with the same reverence as a queen. Josh sat beside her, making her laugh to ease her nerves. "First time flying?" he asked with a teasing smile. "First time flying in anything," she admitted, clutching the armrest as they took off. The journey felt unreal, a fast-forward into a life she hadn't imagined herself living. When they landed, a sleek car took them through the rolling countryside of Ontario to his estate, a sprawling mansion surrounded by pine forests, perched beside a frozen lake that sparkled in the pale light. Inside, the mansion was warm and grand. A chandelier hung above the entrance, casting a golden glow on the marble floor. The house smelled of cedar wood and fresh linens. A maid greeted them politely, and Josh showed her to her room, a bedroom straight out of a magazine. The walls were a soft rose gold, the bed large and draped in white silk, with a view of the lake just outside the window. "This is my room?" she asked in awe. He smiled. "Only the best for you." The next morning, sunlight poured into the room. There was a gentle knock on the door. Kayla, still wrapped in the warmth of the down comforter, called softly, "Come in." The door opened, and a maid entered with a tray of breakfast: eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and tea. Kayla sat up slowly, her eyes still adjusting, then froze. The maid looked up, and her face did the same. "Mom," Kayla whispered, her voice breaking. The tray clattered to the floor. "Kayla!" her mother gasped, crossing the room with trembling hands. The years melted away as they wrapped each other in a tearful embrace. Kayla clung to her mother, sobbing into her shoulder, everything she'd held back for 10 years pouring out in waves, the anger, the confusion, the longing. "I never stopped thinking about you," her mother whispered through her own tears. "I didn't know." "I didn't know you were here." Kayla pulled back, eyes wide and shining. "You work here?" "Yes," her mother said, brushing her daughter's hair from her face. "I live here as well." Shock and wonder passed over Kayla's face in a dizzy blur. Josh had brought her not just into safety, but back to the woman she'd missed most. And for the first time in a decade, Kayla felt whole. As the emotions of their reunion began to settle, Kayla and her mother sat on the edge of the bed, hands entwined like a lifeline between two long-lost souls. Kayla's voice trembled with the weight of 10 years of silence. "Why didn't you ever come back for me?" she whispered. "Why didn't you call? Write more than just those birthday emails? You left, and I waited." Her mother, Leona, looked down, her eyes swimming with guilt and sorrow. She took a long breath before speaking, as if choosing each word with delicate care. "Kayla, I wanted to, every single day, but I couldn't." Kayla frowned. "Why? What stopped you?" "It was your father." Leona's voice dropped, and her hands gripped Kayla's a little tighter. "After I left, I tried to get custody. I had a small place, a job, and I was rebuilding. But when I filed for visitation and support, your father turned everything against me. He told the courts I had abandoned you, that I was mentally unstable. He fabricated letters, forged claims that I'd disappeared by choice. He even said I was involved in fraud, using gambling money. It wasn't true, but I didn't have the resources to fight back. I was just starting over. Kayla's mouth fell open in disbelief. I tried to come back anyway, Leona continued, tears now slipping freely down her cheeks. But he threatened me, said if I came near you, he'd disappear with you and I'd never see you again. And I believed him. He was reckless, angry, and unstable. I didn't trust what he might do. So you just gave up? Kayla asked, hurt bleeding into her voice. No, Leona said firmly, cupping her daughter's face. I never gave up on you. That's why I paid for your schooling. That's why I stayed close enough to send gifts, letters, anything I could without tipping him off. I wanted to protect you, even from afar. Kayla's chest rose and fell in slow, shaky waves. Her heart ached with the complexity of it all. The betrayal, the fear, the sacrifice. But slowly, she nodded. I believe you, she said softly. I just wish I'd known. Leona pulled her close again. You know now, and I'm never letting you go again. Leona wiped her tears, her hands still trembling as she took a step back, trying to compose herself. Kayla, still in disbelief, gently touched her mother's arm. I don't understand. Why didn't you ever tell me you were here? Why didn't you come for me when I turned 18? Leona sighed, her face a blend of relief and lingering guilt. Because I was the maid, Kayla. I didn't want you to see me like that. Not because I was ashamed of the work, but because I didn't want you to worry. Everything I earned here, every cent of my salary, I sent toward your college. I wanted to make sure your future stayed intact. That meant no extras, no plane tickets, no distractions, just tuition, books, and hope. Kayla's throat tightened as the full weight of her mother's sacrifice sank in. She embraced her again, tighter than before. I don't care what job you had. You saved me. In the days that followed, mother and daughter grew close again, as if the years apart had only paused their bond, not broken it. They talked for hours every evening. Kayla shared everything, her life in school, the dreams she had of publishing, and the story of how she met Josh. He's kind, Kayla said one night as they sat in the kitchen sipping tea. And he listens, really listens. He's helped me feel like myself again. Leona watched the warmth in her daughter's eyes and saw what she hadn't seen in a long time. Joy. Quiet, blooming joy. Josh, too, was changing. He'd recently promoted Leona to house manager, a recognition not just of her years of loyalty, but of her quiet strength and dignity. He often said the house ran better under her than it ever had before. His affection for Kayla deepened by the day. He brought her bouquets of sunflowers and lavender, her favorites, left little notes in her sketchbook, and took her on breathtaking dates. Dinner in glass-domed gardens, art museums in private viewings, even a spontaneous trip to a vineyard in Napa. He introduced her proudly to his family and friends, and to Kayla's surprise, they welcomed her with open arms. 5 months after the accident, the estate came alive with quiet celebration. It was Kayla's 21st birthday. Josh had organized a small party with close friends and family, string lights wrapped around the trees, jazz humming through the speakers, and a gorgeous cake adorned with sugared violets. As the party neared its peak, Josh tapped his glass gently and stood, his eyes locked on Kayla. She stood beneath the garden canopy, radiant in a soft cream dress, her hair curled around her shoulders, a quiet smile on her lips. She looked stronger now, confident, centered, and surrounded by people who truly cared. "I never believed in fate," Josh said to the crowd, "until the night Kayla literally fell into my life." Laughter rippled through the guests. Kayla blushed, shaking her head, amused and a little nervous. "But what started with an accident became the greatest gift I've ever received. You've taught me about resilience, beauty, and grace, and I want to spend the rest of my life learning more." Then, before anyone could catch their breath, he dropped to one knee and opened a small velvet box, revealing a ring that sparkled like a promise made in stars. "Kayla Kemi," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion, "will you marry me?" A gasp swept through the garden. Kayla's hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes, tears of disbelief, love, and healing. She looked around at the faces she loved, Josh's family, her mother now beaming with pride and happiness, and back at the man who had held her through her darkest hour and shown her the light. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes." Applause erupted. Josh rose, slid the ring onto her finger, and kissed her with a tenderness that spoke volumes. And Leona, standing just behind the guests, wiped a joyful tear from her cheek. Her daughter had found everything she had sacrificed for, and more. As the golden light of evening streamed through the windows of the estate, Kayla stood on the balcony overlooking the lake, her engagement ring catching the last rays of the sun. Everything around her felt surreal. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. She had escaped a life where her future had been traded away, and now she was building one on her own terms. Inside, laughter echoed as guests lingered after the party, sipping wine and sharing stories. Leona was among them, her smile soft and proud, a weight lifted after years of silent sacrifice. For the first time in a decade, mother and daughter were not just reunited, but thriving, free, safe, and bound by something stronger than the past. Josh stepped onto the balcony, wrapping his arms around Kayla from behind. "You sure you're ready for all this?" he asked with a playful smirk. Kayla leaned into him, her eyes on the horizon. "I've never been more sure of anything." She had survived being bartered, abandoned, and betrayed. And in that survival, she found love, healing, and her voice. Now, standing beside a man who truly saw her, and with her mother by her side, she was ready to live the life she had once only dreamed about. And this time, no one else would write her story. She would. As the stars shimmered above her and quiet laughter echoed from inside the house, Kayla closed her eyes, heart full, and whispered, "God, thank you for giving me the strength to walk away, the courage to believe in something better, and the love I never knew I deserved. Keep guiding my steps. I'm finally ready to walk in the life you've prepared for me." "Amen," Josh whispered. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and click the playlist for more. Share your thoughts in the comments. See you next time, and remember, love is free.